"And how did Lady Brandon describe this wonderful young man?" asked his companion. "Oh, something like, 'Charming boy, poor dear mother and I were close friends. Quite forget what he does. Afraid he doesn't do anything. Oh yes, plays the piano. Or is it the violin, dear Mr. Gray?' We couldn't help laughing, and we became friends at once." "Laughter is not at all a bad beginning for a friendship, and it is the best ending for one," said the young lord. Hallward shook his head. "You don't understand what friendship is, Harry. Tell me more about Mr. Dorian Gray. How often do you see him?" "Every day. I couldn't be happy if I didn't see him every day. He is absolutely necessary to me." "How extraordinary. I thought you would never care for anything but your art." "He is all my art to me now," said the painter. "He is much more to me than a model or a sitter. I know that the work I have done since I met Dorian Gray is good work, is the best work of my life. But in some strange way I see things differently. I think of them differently. The harmony of soul and body, how much that is. We, in our madness, have separated the two, and have invented a realism that is vulgar. Harry, if you only knew what Dorian Gray is to me." "Basil, this is extraordinary. I must see Dorian Gray." Hallward got up from the seat and walked up and down the garden. After some time he came back. "Harry," he said, "Dorian Gray is just a motive in art. Perhaps you will see nothing in him. I see everything in him." "Then why won't you exhibit his portrait?" asked Lord Henry. "It's my secret. Dorian doesn't know about my feelings. He will never know anything about it. But the world can guess it, and I don't want anybody to see what was going in my heart. My heart will never be put under their microscope. There is too much of myself in the thing, Harry. Too much of myself." "I think you are wrong, Basil, but I won't argue with you. Tell me, is Dorian Gray very fond of you?" The painter thought for a few moments. "He likes me," he answered after a pause. "I know he likes me. As a rule, he is charming to me, and we sit in the studio and talk. But sometimes he is horribly thoughtless, and seems to take a real pleasure in giving me pain. Then I feel, Harry, that I have given away my whole soul to someone who treats it as if it were a flower to put in his coat, a flower that he can enjoy for a summer's day and forget the next one." "Days in summer, Basil, are too long," said Lord Henry. "Perhaps you will be tired sooner than he will. It is a sad thing to think of, but genius lasts longer than beauty. That's why we want to get education. In the wild struggle for existence, we want to have something that lasts long, so we fill our minds with rubbish and facts, in the silly hope of keeping our place. The well-informed man, that is the modern ideal, and the mind of the well-informed man is a dreadful thing. I think you will be tired first. All the same, some day you will look at your friend, and he will seem to you to be a little out of drawing. The next time, you will be cold and indifferent. Harry, don't talk like that. As long as I live, Dorian Gray will be important to me. You can't feel what I feel. You change too often." "Ah, my dear Basil, how unkind you are." And Lord Henry began to smoke a cigarette. How pleasant it was in the garden, and how wonderful other people's emotions were. Much more exciting than their ideas. He turned to Hallward and said, "My dear friend, I have just remembered." "Remembered what, Harry?" "Where I heard the name of Dorian Gray." "Where was it?" asked Hallward. "Don't look so angry, Basil. It was at my Aunt Lady Agatha's. She told me she had discovered a wonderful young man, Dorian Gray, but she never told me he was good-looking. She said that he had a beautiful nature. So I decided that he was a creature with spectacles, thin hair, unpleasant face, and huge feet. I wish I had known it was your friend." "I am very glad you didn't, Harry. Why?" "I don't want you to meet him." "You don't want me to meet him?" "No." "Mr. Dorian Gray is in the studio, sir," said the servant coming into the garden. "You must introduce me now," cried Lord Henry, laughing. "Dorian Gray is my dearest friend. He has a simple and a beautiful nature. Your aunt was quite right in what she said of him. Don't spoil him. Don't try to influence him. Your influence would be bad." "What nonsense you talk," said Lord Henry, smiling, and taking Hallward by the arm, he led him into the house.